and acts like he's John Wayne. And then the other half are like, hey, we don't want something to happen here, and we are not trained for it. And those are the best ones because they already know, hey, we did not learn anything. Just what do you got to teach us?
Yeah,
So,
right. I taught some sheriffs out in Tennessee, Dixon County, Tennessee, and
yeah,
they've been some of the best students we've ever had. You know, but you're right. It's very hard to get some of the law enforcement, bigger departments to change their way of thinking because it's just been ingrained in them. And I get it to some extent that, cops really only trust other cops. They deal with the scum of the earth every single day. They start to view everyone as a criminal. So they don't want to learn from anybody that hasn't been through what they've been through.
yeah,
But if that's your attitude, don't sign up. You
yeah.
know,
It's
if you're
different
not,
when the department's telling you to come take it. Don't give me your money and then complain about it.
you say, well, my department doesn't allow me to do that. Say, well, have fun in a body bag, bro, because that's going to get you killed, man. And it's
Yeah,
unfortunate. And,
yeah,
when you see certain things and you watch some of these events that are unfold on YouTube shootings that involve law enforcement, and you can just see the guy's doing what he was taught. It's just what he was taught was the way we thought 20, 30 years ago. And it's extremely upsetting to me, like with the Dallas shooting, where that guy went crazy and started lighting all those people up in downtown Dallas.
yeah, yeah,
And there's a video that's shot from across the street, and you can see this law enforcement officer. He comes up to like a pillar of a building that would have offered him pretty good cover if he had used it the right way, but he didn't. He sucked up into it where he couldn't see anything, and you see the dude just comes right around the corner and just essentially executes the guy. And it's like, man, if somebody had just taught him the right way to use that cover, to back up off of that cover, and it opens up the world to you, to your left and to your right. Because when you suck into it, you're blocking half of your field of view. And you can't see that dude until it's almost too late. But if you back up off your cover a little bit, it allows you to use these angles and to give yourself some sort of advantage. He could have probably survived. He would have maybe even won that fight, put the guy down, and ended the entire thing. And it's extremely upsetting and makes you angry to see, because again, here's a guy who is willing to risk his life to save people like us every single day. That's an admirable thing. It 100% is. Those departments need to give that officer everything he needs to be able to properly do his job. It's not the individual officer's fault. He's doing what he was taught. He's doing what he was allowed to do, what he thought was the best thing to do.
Well, the way I kind of look at that is if like how you identified at the beginning, you weren't good at shooting pistols. So you went and what'd you do? You learned how to get better at shooting pistols. The
Right.
issue is what I've seen in a lot of the law enforcement communities that I've talked with or trained with or whatever it is, they give each other false motivation where they shoot like crap, but they tell each other it's okay. Or where they shoot the big silhouette targets and they can hit it anywhere on the target, and they're like, dude, you're an expert. No, you're not. You shot his feet. like, so it,
Well, yeah, if your rounds are not impacting where you want them to, you obviously aren't in control of the gun.
yeah, yeah. Ask, hey, where are you aiming at? Well, I was aiming at his chest. You hit him in the leg. like,
Yeah. So
so,
you're not in control of the gun. And again, they seem to get the law enforcement people to where it's like an acceptable level of accuracy.
yeah,
Well, accuracy has nothing to do with fighting with a gun. I mean, I can stand on one foot with a gun upside down, pull the trigger with my pinky, and be accurate. But is that going to work in a fight?
no,
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So they have just taken they haven't realized, or they don't want to realize, that you have to be able to employ accuracy while involved in the fight. And that takes training, and it takes in firearms training, it takes tactic training, and just the simple things like don't suck up into that cover. unless you're being engaged by a threat from an elevated position. Back up off of that cover. It opens up what you can see in the world, and just these little,
quit
little
shooting at stuff you don't see. I've seen a bunch of them, even working on some of the I do like some of the vehicle courses, getting in and out of the vehicle, shooting from cover, stuff like that, and having the officers that are like no threat situations, and they're still shooting, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, you're wasting your ammo. Well, this is what we just got taught. Like, I know he's over here. Oh, that's not good.
This isn't a suppressive fire situation.
Yeah.
And, you're going to bound through or assault through kind of thing.
Yeah, this isn't your Glock 17 is not an M249. So
no. Yeah, it like I said, it's sad, but it also makes me angry to see these law enforcement officers that are getting killed.
Yeah.
Because they're doing what they were trained to do. And and even not just law enforcement officers, soldiers in general, that are willing to do whatever it takes to provide you and I with safety, risk their lives for that, to do that, but they're not being given like the equal respect they deserve to get the proper training. I mean, if like you said, if you were going to hire a guy to protect your family and you had to train him, are you just going to train him to this very low standard and be like, all right, you're good enough?
Yeah.
And then when the guys do his job and protect you, I mean, you should have enough respect for that person that's willing to die for you to allow them to be properly trained. And so that's the thing with the law enforcement that I think it makes me angry, makes you sad when you see somebody lose their life. You go back and study, well, what did they do, and the whole thing, and what led to the actual life being taken. You can see all these training errors, and they're just trying to do their best they can with what they have.
Right.
And there was an old story. I'll have to text it to you, and it talks about how when a soldier, like a guy that burns in with a parachute, he was doing everything he had ever been taught to try to save his own life. And for whatever reason, he was never properly trained to save his own life. So who really failed here? His chain of command failed. Everyone that he ever interacted with failed. They failed to properly train this person. It's easy to blame the individual and say, oh, he screwed up. But was he ever properly taught? No. If he wasn't ever properly taught, the failure is actually on you for not training him properly. And so when these law enforcement officers die and you see the big giant parades and all this kind of stuff, like, you know what, asshole? If you had taken the fucking money you sunk into this parade and this motherfucker's funeral and actually taken that money and put it into training that person to stay alive and do the right thing, he probably would be alive.
Yeah.
So, where the fuck are your priorities? You know what I mean? And that stuff really angers me, because not only did it cost this person its life, this is the person that's coming to try to rescue me if the situation is needed, and he's not properly, or she's not properly trained. I mean, look at that woman that shot that guy in the apartment building in Dallas. Now, was she incompetent? Absolutely incompetent with what she did. Why did she do that? Because she probably was doing what she thought she was trained to do in some extent. Was she properly trained? There's no way you can convince me that she was properly trained.
Right.
If that's the course of action she took that she thought she needed to take, because for whatever reason, because she was wrong. Absolutely, she was wrong. Should she go to jail? She should go to jail. But the people that trained her should absolutely be held accountable for providing her with crap training.
Yeah. That's something too, is this goes on the fire, just deciding to, hey, I'm going to carry a firearm. That gives you a certain sense of responsibility. And I think that sense of responsibility should be held to the same level as, law enforcement, military, whatever it is. You have a sense of responsibility. Paying attention is a main part of that responsibility. Yes. I've never once walked into a room and thought I was in a different room. That's not happened.
Well, but even if you walked into a room and you thought you were in a different room, why wouldn't you just back out?
Right.
Or,
Right.
you know, I mean, you have to take in some of your surroundings to make an assessment. How do you not take in those surroundings and realize I'm not in my apartment?
Yeah.
If you stuck me in someone else's house, it would take me about 1/10 of a second to realize I was not in my house.
Yeah.
I mean, huh? You know, I get it. Some of those apartments are all set up the same, but everybody's apartment is unique to that individual and the crap that they have out, their furniture,
your shoes sitting somewhere. Yeah.
Exactly. So why would you think, okay, the best thing to do is to pursue into even if you thought it was your apartment, why would you go in there to get into a fight with somebody that you don't know? You don't know how many people are in there. Why wouldn't you back out and then call the police? I mean, to me, so how does a cop not know this?
Yeah.
Because they weren't taught this.
And that's something that I find difficult at times to explain to individuals when they say things like, well, this dude's a law enforcement officer and he trains all the time, or he trains me all the time. Okay. That no longer gives me any hope. Like when I was naive, oh, cool, dude. You got trained by a cop, or the dude that says his brother's a Ranger Battalion sniper. Oh, cool, dude. Like, awesome. Since being a firearms instructor, I now see where it's like, oh, if you're law enforcement or you're just an NRA instructor, I'm questioning you right out the gate.
Absolutely. Yep. And again, it's not that they have a bad intention. They don't want to not be good at what they're doing. They're just not being taught the right way to do it. Why won't the departments seek out proper training? I'm not saying, oh, it has to be me or it has to be you.
Right.
Seek out proper training. And it's not all just firearms driven. It's tactic driven as well.
Right.
And again, people can get lulled into this sense of this works. Now, it does work, but is it the best way to do anything? When I first got over to Iraq, we were doing a react to contact drill and getting out of the vehicle, and they essentially had overcomplicated the shit out of this process, and they had set some things up that weren't really conducive to mobility and things like that. Okay, now when your vehicle's getting torn apart, what's the priority? Getting out of the vehicle. And now that you're out of the vehicle, now what's the priority? Well, it's to suppress the enemy well enough so you can move. Well, they kind of had a poor program in place for this thing. It was, this guy gets out first and goes to this spot, and this person gets out and goes to that spot. And I was just like, we're overthinking this for sure, man.
Yeah.
First person out of the vehicle takes the best position to return fire and go to that position. The next person out, they take the next best position to go to. And we don't need all of our crap compacted into one bag, go bag now that weighs 80 pounds. Let's break it all up, because what if that bag catches on fire and you can't retrieve it? Well, now everything's gone. So, and luckily enough, I was lucky enough to have a boss at that time, or a shift lead at that time, that was willing to listen to when I said, hey, maybe this is a better way to do this. And we ran through it several times, and he was like, yeah, that is a better way to do it, and let's do it that way from now on. And we retrained and did it that way. But yeah, these guys they get stuck in this way of thinking, and especially in the law enforcement community, because it's been signed off on by the lawyers that, hey, this is the least likely scenario to get us sued.
Yeah.
As opposed to, let's train these guys to do things the right way. And if you're doing things the right way and reacting the right way, that way is less likely to get you sued as well. And, like I said, take the money you're going to put into these guys' or girls' funerals, take it and train them to do the right thing. And because they want to, they're willing to put their life on the line to protect you. Give them, at least have enough respect for them to give them the proper training.
Yeah, and
But
it's not even. I mean, and even if it was better training at the academy level, I've talked to police officers that just hearing the firearms training or even the tactics training that they do at academy level, I was just. I mean, I heard some people who loved it will say, "Oh, it's the same as boot camp or it's the same as whatever," and then it's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Like, those are two different worlds, bud. and but just kind of hearing the different points of view with it, it is based on their mindset and what were they believed, or what do they believe is to be true.
right. Well, it's like somebody saying, "Oh, I'm an FBI agent." So what? You're probably really good at investigating,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean you're good with a gun. I mean, I
Yeah.
have a friend of mine who is an FBI agent, and he's like, half the people within the FBI don't even need to carry a gun. And then the half that do, only about half of them actually know how to shoot it worth of shit. And that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be the premier law enforcement agency in the world. And that's a whole nother debatable subject at this point in this country's history. But I don't believe the individual agents are anything but honorable people and always willing to do the right thing. And you could hold them up to any scrutiny and they would pass 99 times or 999 times out of 1,000. It's some of the chain of command there that was having some issues. But again, are they properly trained to run firearms? Not really. I
Yeah.
mean, they've gotten better, but it's such a slow evolution to get big organizations like that to change the way they do things and the way they think about things that it's hard.
So going off, because you had mentioned something talking about tactics, not always just the firearm side, but also the tactics side. I did a active shooter course for a medical facility. I'm not going to say which one, just
Right.
anyway, because I disagree with that too. I've seen some people like, hey, I did active shooter training for this location, or hey, I trained these security guys, and it's like, I don't know that I would have put that on there, because what if people didn't know that that was the church security team? Now they do.
Well, right. That's a tough one when you start thinking about active shooters training, especially like at the school level,
Yeah.
because what are you essentially doing when you have the entire school involved in this react to active shooter training drill? You're teaching that psycho in that
What
school
they do.
how to plan
Yeah.
his attack better
Yeah.
against the school, and that's kind of scary in itself. And like you're saying, yeah, I
Well,
trained this church's security team. Well, now everybody knows that church has a security team
and who they are.
and who they are.
Yeah.
And in some ways it's good, and in some ways it's bad, because
Yeah.
if you're going to attack a target, you're probably going to want to find a soft target. And if you know there's a security team there that's trained, you're probably just going to move on to the next place. More than likely, it's hard to really get inside the mind of an active shooter,
Right.
because most of them are mentally ill or they're on some sort of behavior modification drugs.
Well, but so I agree with you. Most times they probably would look for a soft target as opposed to a hard target. But there are individuals out there like the guy that shot Chris Kyle.
Yes.
He wanted to do it to be famous.
Right.
So how many people get suicide by cop? Fair amount.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So I did this active shooter training for a medical facility, and I did it for like the higher command people. Not everybody was involved in some of the classes, and they were saying, well, are you just going to come in here and tell us that we need guns? And I was like, no, but yeah, you do. But no, that's not what I'm coming in here to tell you, because you have all of these issues. And
Right.
I spent 2 days going around all their facilities, noticing how many doors are left unlocked, noticing how many people just let me walk in because I'm dressed nice, so they don't ask me if I have a work badge or anything. They just open the door for me. Those are the issues.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. Yeah, I pull up in a BMW and I'm wearing a suit, and I have a $1,000 briefcase in my hand. People are going to think you're an administrator or you're a doctor,
yeah.
and you just say you make up some bullshit story. They'll probably let you in.
I had told one of them, one of the front, and I feel sorry for the front desk people. I hope they didn't lose their job. But I had told one of them that I was a contractor coming by to check the ceilings because there had been a lot of rain recently, and they were worried about the rain coming through in the roofs. So they said, "Oh yeah, we weren't even expecting you." And I said, "Oh, it's cool." So they just opened it up and let me in, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah, yeah,
So
it's amazing if you carry yourself with confidence and you have on the costume that fits in that situation. How many people will really just dismiss you and say, "No, they must be legit. They look they look unthreatening." You
yeah,
know, but if you walk in there and you got face tattoos and a full sleeves and some ratty out beard and you're all you're wearing a t-shirt that says "I hate the world," they'll probably be like, "Nah, you're not coming in here." But yeah, you wear a nice suit and you look nice.
so
Art people, they've done all these experiments over the years about people susceptible to um, being told what to do by someone in a position of authority. And if you have on a uniform, people just automatically assume you're in charge.
well, I had said that I was amazed that anyone can fall for that after Ted Bundy. Because Ted Bundy was known to dress really nice and he spoke like he was very articulate, right? And then he would kill and rape women.
Right.
And it was just, how did we not learn from then that that is a ploy that people can use? So,
Well, everybody's heard the wolf in sheep's clothing
yeah,
thing, and it's true that yeah, if you and I say uniform, I don't necessarily mean a military uniform,
yeah,
but sometimes that suit and that haircut and the way you carry yourself and the watch and the shoes and all that stuff, that's the uniform that they've come to expect. And if you walk into some big high priced law firm or something like that and you look the part, you get a lot of doors open to you that normally people would be like, this dude don't look right. And so um, yeah, and so for the active shooter stuff and the access to the buildings and the access to these areas, that you got to get people outside of that way of thinking that, oh, this person can't be a threat because the way they look,
yeah,
and or
yeah,
this person, I'm a big believer in if your spidey senses are telling you something's not right, you need to listen to that, say, no, that's not right. And you see somebody walk. My wife is a good example of this. When she was in grad school in Chicago, she was walking down the street, and she was in Wrigleyville. She's walking down the street, and she sees somebody that kind of had that gangster uniform on, And she was like, "Oh, don't be like that. Just assume the best." Well, she got closer to that person. He pulled out a gun and robbed her. But her spidey senses, it told her to cross the street. Didn't listen to him. Luckily, she just got robbed, and the guy didn't kill her. But you got to learn to teach people to listen to that on
yeah,
a part of their brain. That hey, man, something's not quite right with this dude, or something's not right with this girl, or something's up, and be a better observer of human behavior, and you can avoid a lot of situations. But yeah, don't with the active shooter stuff, doors that are supposed to be locked are supposed to be locked for a reason.
yep,
You've implemented all these safety protocols, but then you don't actually enforce them. So what good are they? And you can, when you walk into some administrator's office that you're not supposed to have access to, and you put a blue gun down on his desk and say, you and probably 5 or 6 of your staff are dead, it's kind of an eye opener to him. And you're like, and I didn't do any whiz bang ninja sneaking in here and
yeah.
crawling through the air ducts and that kind of
You only
crap.
did you only did 2 press checks.
Exactly. I only press checked my blue gun twice, and but I walked in here, right? I walked in the front door, and that can kind of make people be like, "Whoa, wait a minute, how did you do that?"
Yeah,
Like, I did it just because of the way I carried myself and the way I was dressed, and that can spook some people who are like, "Wow, we need to rethink this." So but I do. It's yeah, the law enforcement stuff. I don't put the blame on the individual officer. They're doing their best. They're doing the best they can. The agencies, they need to actually really bring in some outside eyeballs and look at their programs. And
Yeah.
you might have a great program. I'm not saying they're all bad, but they're usually running on outdated material, outdated ways of thinking.
Well, and if you have the same people teaching the same stuff that over and over and over, I mean, it's time to just bring in some other thought process into it. And that's an issue I had with the, even on the military side, is some of the stuff they were teaching. It was just like, dude, this just because your team leader, squad leader, platoon sergeant told you this 5 years ago.
Right.
It doesn't even make sense to, whatever it was, but to do that, like, it doesn't even make sense. Oh, I never thought about it like that. Well, you should let people talk.
Like, yeah, you never even thought about it. And yeah, I remember things in the 90s that were put out there, like the slow is smooth, smooth is fast, muscle memory, don't let your magazine rest on the ground, it'll induce a malfunction, and all these thought processes that again, somebody was just repeating what somebody else had said and it sounded cool or something like that. And even at the highest level, there were certain things that they thought were right, but then 18 years of warfare definitely changes the way a lot of people think about a lot of things. And and in some ways I got lucky in that going into the contract world, I got to work with a lot of guys that had a tremendous amount of combat experience in some of these higher level units, and learn from them that this doesn't work, or this is a better way to do something that we thought we had figured out and we realized we didn't. And because I wasn't in those units anymore, so the guys that came into the contracting world from CAG or from Ranger Regiment, some SEALs, some reconnaissance Marines, MARSOC guys at that level, some SF guys and things like that. I did learn a lot from those guys just from hanging out and talking in the vehicles while we were working. Because sometimes we would sit on venues for hours and you're just bored out of your skull. So you would talk about all of these different things, tactics and shooting things that have changed and evolved over just the last 10 years. And if you're not staying current on all those kind of things and you're running off of old doctrine, man, you can make some stupid mistakes. And it's usually not anything huge. It's these little things like sucking into your cover, little things like that can cost you your life in the blink of an eye. And I think that's sad because the information is out there to make these cops better, or their survivability better in these bad dynamic situations. It's just that it's not being sought out, or they're not willing to pay for it.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. Do you have any last comments or last remarks to make for this one?
No, that's it. No, can't think of anything else. We've been yammering on for a while.
Okay. So. Anyway, I appreciate you coming on and let me talk to you for a little bit. So
yeah, it's good. Like I said, I've been stuck in my house for like a week now. Social distancing myself from everybody, and you forget how much you need social interaction and to talk to people and go back and forth. That once you find somebody that you can go back and forth with, you can go on for a long time.
Yeah, I actually just looked at the clock and I thought, holy crap! I didn't think we've been talking. It's 5.
Oh, wow, we've been talking for a while.
I didn't realize that.
No, it's 4:00 my time, and I've been here, since noon.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really seem like it's been that long.
No, it doesn't.
A ton of other things we could talk about, even within just the shooting world, which is crazy.
So. Well, we can do another episode another day.
A week of stir crazy. And,
Hey, well, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna stop the live stream real quick just so that part is stopped. So thank you guys for watching.